So we've talked about the entire show for June the 13th. With MMA going on for UFC 250 in the White House, I have a lot of stuff to talk about on my 7 paragraph observer, which we'll get to that next week. And I also have something else to talk about. The cheese rowing competition in Cooper's Hill actually happened last month ago, and I completely forgot about it when I was up in Raleigh, North Carolina, going up north and going to the White House in D.C. at the time, around that time going on. So, forgot. I might go back to do an observer about that as well. Anyway, okay, time to get to the show. Jake Paul promotion is here. We're taking on the show. We're taking on competition. We even have a young guy from New Mexico of El Paso, Texas in a flyweight coming in and blowing out a fighter that he took on by split decision of Jonathan Gonzalez yesterday ago. We're having these new legit elite fighters. Like, we even have our gold, our Olympic medalist of Ronnie Alvarez in the super middleweight and from Cuba, living in Rhode Island, and he's pulling out his victory a couple days ago. While at this time, we're already putting in other suits as we're talking about this. Of course, when it comes to those fighters, I really can't say much about this show other than there's a lot of stupidity. Because MVPW-04 live in Caribbean Royal Arena in Orlando, Florida on June the 13th. The pay-per-view match of Oshashe Jones versus Elia Carranza. So this entire fight card is out. Useless for me to talk about. So this entire show is putting on so much of a ruckus, and the preliminary fights had a multitude of them. They had 5 male fights, but one of them decided not to happen, which was Jason Martinez taking on Trey Howard. Fight got canceled, I guess. Doesn't matter. The 4 male pro fights and the prelims for them are not there for me to talk about. Female boxing is not getting any interesting for talking about this show because you have 4 female fights and 4 male fights instead happening on the preliminary fights. So you have fighters like Jordan Hernandez, 16-0, picks up a 3rd round corner stoppage against Fernando Diaz. You have Pedro Vietia, a 7-0-1, taking on 6-0 Tewa Afolabi, knocking him down in the 5th round by TKO in the 6th round fight. You have Jaden Addison scoring a 2nd pro fight against debut fighter Xavier Davidson in the 1st round by TKO. Another 1st round TKO against Brazilian fighter Kino Marui defeats Jordan Głochowski as well. But the female fights are terrible. Like, you have Sarai Brown Ale taking on Ashley Felix. Brown scores her first pro victory in a 4-round fight, dominant. And then you have Liana Cruz, 11-0-0, 1-0 contest against Ruby Gutierrez, an 8-3-1 fighter, 8-round fight, dominant. That's it, nothing good. Brittany Sims takes on Naomi Cardenas, former contender in the super flyweight, and Gomez decides to flop in the way 8 rounds and gives Brittany Sims the win. And then you go to the main event for the last fight in the prelims, where you have Joey D. Oliveira, also Joey Polka, former Misfits cruiserweight champion in Misfits boxing. She's not a knockout fighter, never is, never knocked out a fighter to win a fight by knockout. Takes on Monica Ann Medina, who is a bare knuckle fighter, and surprisingly, Joey dominated the fight. It was a decent fight. I just wish Elle Brooke got the same recognition for that, but no, they decided to screw her on and then give Joey Polka the victory for this. So, good victory for her. But again, when you have male boxers winning by knockout and females going the distance, it makes you wonder that the main event card is not going to be good if you're seeing fighters end by decision. And yet, even if females are going for knockouts, they're not power punchers. And understand this. Remember the video when Carissa Shields was sparring against a guy in a gym and the guy managed to throw a punch on Carissa, which took her down? Here's the thing. That guy threw maybe 25% of his power punch there. He didn't throw 100%. It would have killed Carissa. Carissa Shields, if you have Carissa Shields throwing 100% of her power, that is equivalent to 25% of that power thrown by that punch that sent her down on the canvas by that dude. That's how dangerous guys are in the world today. There's reasons why God made men more dangerous and stronger than women, depending on our body shapes and how weak-wing we are. But depending, we're all built differently. Just saying. So not all of us are like that. But my point is, it's a devastating thing. So you have these female boxers, and you realize that they're not going to put on a lot of great power. And Mizuki Hiruda's team, they're not training her for doing knockouts. They just want her to go the distance. Mizuki Hiruda does try to throw out heavy punches to hurt people as best she could, but they just don't get down for a knockout. It's not there. Even Tenshin Nasukawa, that lost against Floyd Mayweather back in 2018, that exhibition fight, and then he lost against Naoya Inoue's brother Takuma last year ago for the vacant WBC Bantamweight Championship belt. Nasukawa's entire boxing career in pro is all about setting up his punch like he's playing a Street Fighter game where you set up your punches and powering your punches like Super Smash Bros. Where you're setting up your power and then boom. That's what Nasukawa's doing. His entire career, Tenshin Nasukawa is not a great knockout fighter. Even though he tries to go for power punches, he's wasting all of his precious moments of setting up huge powers trying to go for heavy punches. It's not about going for all knockouts. It's about being smart of who you're fighting with. And that's a thing. So, but when it comes to female boxing, this show explains it for how it's terrible enough. But man, when they show out upset formats, man, you better believe it. And that's what I'm here to talk about on this show, because this right here is a doozy. It really is. And I just sit back, relax, enjoy the ride, man, because this one is going to be one decent of a show. I'll tell you that. So, trying to get down to my list here for talking about stuff. All right, let's get down to it. Okay, so Sasha Jones versus Carranza 2 fight and other results for other shows. So, blah, blah, blah. So, the first fight on the show is Evelyn Bermudez, who is a unified WBA, WBO, IBF light flyweight championship, taking on Estefany Alegria. So at this moment, Evelyn's idea is if she wins this fight, she's going to take on Lourdes, who just last month ago defeated, well, not last month ago, but just some weeks ago, she defeated Yokasta Valley, which was an upset, shocking victory, and I don't think no one expected. And people were expecting Yokasta to go on for undisputed as she won that fight and then fight for the undisputed championship here. So that was the build-up to our opinion on how this is going to go out. That's not how it went. So technically, we saw a completely different situation here. So the entirety of this show is going down a lot different than it is. So bear with me. And when I say bear with me, I'm just going to try to look up predictions here. I'm just trying to find information on topology boxing and understand what we got here. So Evelyn and Algieri. So the report stated that Evelyn Bermudez was voted 90% chance of favor to win this fight. So Alegria, was favored as 3%. Out of 119 people on Topology voted this fight. And I'm sure 118 of them voted for Bermudez. The lone person that gave 3% to give Alegria the win, good job. He won the fight by decision. Great. And it's crazy because 6.3% believe that Bermudez was going to win by knockout, and 93.7% was decision. So, yeah, not much there to talk about. So, the voting on that says a lot. The entire fight, it had moments, but it was a dominant performance. The entire fight was this. Bermudez was working on jabs with Alegria missing rights from top to bottom, exchanging jabs, right hands, body punches, downstairs, upstairs. And coming into the last 10 seconds, there were flurry punches from Bermudez, landing couple combinations of her own, and comes in and manages to put out a good start to a good round. The thing was, it wasn't all there for anyone else. It was a good round for Estefani. She had moments and such. Bermudez was on shots, but again, there was more to it. And there were times for Bermudez doing okay stuff. It was a solid round. And then you come from round 2, and the craziness gets crazy, where both girls are flashing out jabs, and Alegria is working on left and jabs and upstairs punches. Bermudez did throw an overhand right, missing by a mile, and from Alegria landing hooks. There was a moment where the referee warned them due to a head clash around like a good amount of time, where Estefani comes in and just starts blazing for it, punches at her, and the referee gives warning for back of the head in the last 20 seconds of the round. And by the way, the referee's name is Alicia Collins. She's the overweight woman. Sparkle Lee, who would go on to ref the Jones fight, Carranza, and the Yasmin Artiga fight, will ref those fights. Alicia Collins will also ref the featherweight fight with Tiara Brown. So keep that in mind. But again, those are the female referees reffing this fight. We come to the next rounds later on, and Bermudez, she does try her best to land out some combinations once in a while, but again, from straight left, from upstairs for Bermudez. Again, Alegria, the problem is she was ripping combinations to body punches. She was a body puncher in the entire fight. She was hurting her so much that Bermudez is not doing a good job. Like, keep this in mind. So Estefani is in black trunks, black bra, white bra and out white colored trunks for Bermudez. And coming into like 1 minute into the fight, we're coming in with multitude of heavy punches. Bermudez sets up an uppercut, misses, and Estefani is going from rope to rope. They're going clockwise to the fight, and she's just going in for the attack formation for multitude of body punches. The body punches were so legit in each round that it was not a good fight. It was a dominant performance, and no one expected Bermudez to lose this fight the way it did. We come to round 5. They're exchanging rights from both straights. Bermudez keeping Estefani at bay from jabs as best as she could. She throws uppercuts. And Alegria is going inside, mixing things up from attacking sequels and landing more body punches. Round 6, similar effects. And at this moment in the 6th round, Bermudez is missing out her own punches. She's getting backed up into the ropes. And again, she's still setting up uppercuts here or there. But again, Alegria was just on top of the world. From 7 to 8, thrown out multitude of punch combinations, more body punches. Like, this woman was on fire the entire night. There was one moment in round 9 where she goes right into Bermudez. And going to the point of here, Bermudez throws some lefts here or there, and none of them are getting through. And then we go from more combinations, from uppercuts, from 1-2 punch combinations, and working on more body punches. And again, and not even early into the ninth round, like maybe 30 seconds into the round, Bermudez is just ducking out punches best she could while getting grabbed on to the back of the head, getting punches into herself. Like, Estefani was, the punches weren't much. I don't see girls getting that bruised up as much, so these weren't hard punches, but I think Estefani really was going for it there. So the fight ends with everything going on in 10 rounds. Both are just tiring themselves together, but Estefani is just still landing punches never before. And again, Bermudez was just disappointing me. I never seen it. She's throwing out more punches than ever, but Estefani was landing punches. She was keeping her hands down, which made Estefani land more punches. She was on combinations like never before after the final bell. The match rings. Two judges, 99 to 91. One had 100 to even, 91. I agreed with that. Estefani wins the fight, and now she's on the rankings as the top boxer, but she's ranked number 2 in the light flyweight. So what should you do here? At 26 years old, taking on Lourdes Suarez at 39 years old, also Mexican. This should be a good match on paper. Two Mexican girls fighting for undisputed. If Jake Paul can put that match together, that'll be great to see that. Just to see if this young 26-year-old woman can handle against a 39-year-old woman that's this close for an undisputed title fight to win. I think Estefani is ready for the opportunity. Both of these girls fought weeks apart of each other. They won their fights legit as they could, and that's all I have to say about this. So I think it's a good match on paper. Mexican versus Mexican. The young versus the old. The good versus the ugly or the bad. No ugly in it, but I'd say it's a good fight. But it'll be a good one. Yasmin Artiga, WBA Super Flyweight Champion, defends her belt against Natalie Delgado, WBA Interim Championship. This main event fight card points us out here. I don't know if this was the second fight on the main card or the first fight, maybe the third. I'm assuming it by the cards and differentials, so bear with me on that. Like, BoxRec does rank their results higher for the light flyweight title, but it wasn't the first on the show, so again, I'm trying to bear this together. So it stated that Yasmin Artiga was a 98% chance on winning this fight. She had 96.3% on decision, 3.7% on knockouts by the voters on Topology. Out of 114 picks in Topology, unfortunately, 2% of players in Topology gave it for the winner for Delgado. So we were voting for an upset victory. 2 people actually voted for Delgado to win this fight. 2%. And it stated that one of each of those people that voted for Delgado, one voted for knockout, one voted for decision. So, yeah, so 2% on Delgado. Delgado's career is not on fire. She's a woman that's past her prime as a Panama fighter. But again, fighting for 12 years and having pro defeats against some interesting competitors. And other fights in 2016 that she could not get away with. And had an IBF title fight in 2021. Gabrielle Fundora took care of her when Fundora was 4-0 with 1 no contest in 2022. Her last fight was a no contest. Took care of Delgado. Clara Lescurat, who was a former WBA Super Flyweight Championship in March 11th, 2022, which I'm going to try to look that up if she was a world champion at that time. And Clara Lescurat, her first No, okay, no. Unfortunately, she did not fight for the title. Clara won her sixth pro fight against Natalie by split decision, and then 3 months later, she took on Maribel Ramirez to become WBA champion. Retained the title 4 years, 4 times straight until 2024 in April, and then never fought again by retiring in January. So, congratulations to the 38-year-old undefeated fighter. Smart for her. So Delgado had those fights, lost against someone else in 2022, and then, well, she won a couple fights in 2023, scored a draw, not good. So technically, in her last, so her last 8 fights, she's won. In her last 11 fights, she won 2 fights, won a draw, and the last 8 fights, she won all of the fights by decision. Pretty much. With only 5 knockouts in her career, her last knockout was one before her last fight was a defeat in December 2022, so no go there. Her resume in fights have not been on top. Maribel Ramirez in July of 2025, but again, Ramirez is already turning into a journeyman, so nothing much there. Artiga, people have been favoring her to take on Mizuki Hiruta. We haven't talked so much, but no one wants to fight for unified titles in the super flyweight for women's boxing. So this fight right here sets the tale of what not giving up in boxing is. So we've already had an upset moment, but that might be the only time we'll ever see it. And before you know it, that's not how it went. So we come into the first round of the fight where it comes out great. So we have our good old buddy, Natalie, comes into the fight wearing an awesome headpiece for an Indian headpiece as a native to herself. She comes into the ring wearing an awesome Indian outfit on a hairpiece for Chief Indian. Awesome look on herself. And Artiga comes into herself as legit. So, considering Delgado, she doesn't have what it takes for a world championship, but she's interim champion. She got lucked on recently against Maribel, so it might be good. So in the first round of the fight, Artiga comes into it, and Delgado is sitting back, firing off rights. With Artiga starting off well decently, we have counter shots by Delgado and coming forward for Artiga. Artiga's coming in, flashing rights with some lefts here or there. And again, Delgado goes for the body punches and answering out so much for strong punches. And the first round was barely a win on for Artiga, so which is I thought. So we come into round 2 and both fight on, and Delgado comes in working on combinations to the body, and both women throwing rights at each other. Delgado is going from upstairs to right stairs. It doesn't matter if it's left stairs, downstairs. She's going everywhere. She goes for right hooks to the body. Artiga's going out from lefts. And Delgado is switching up some interesting game plans. There's a moment where a right hook was caught by Artiga, catching Delgado on, coming in. A 2-punch combination from Delgado, landing bodies at the end of the second round for Delgado. We come into the third round, and the moment comes crazy in the third round. Both women are looking inside to each other, landing. Delgado trying to get inside to the bodies, and the body punches seems there. Artiga does get some left hooks in and right hooks, but again, Delgado clinches Artiga, and there's times that clinches were problematic in the fight. And even 30 seconds. But the craziest part is that 30 seconds into that third round, Artiga, wearing black and dark and white for Delgado, she comes in on Delgado, and Delgado comes in and lands this perfect punch. Like, Artiga's throwing in a punch. She throws a right that puts her body this way, which gives Delgado a chance to set up a winding right punch and sets up balancing on Artiga in the third round. And that punch was pretty scary when I saw that. But again, it was a good combination. She goes forward to give herself some good uppercuts at the end of the fight to win the third round. Artiga coming up with left, clinches, Delgado connecting with more body punches, and again, that's the entirety of the fight. Good job for Delgado. Round 5, we come in with a decencies of punching and fortitude. And I think they showed us a replay of that punch in the 3rd round. But again, it was a good heavy overhand right by Delgado, which was good. But in the 5th round, again, Delgado lands another right of her own, little exchanges of clinches here or there. And even though clinches were problematic, but I can't say much about that, Delgado does try to get something in there, but Artiga starts missing combinations as she tries to get inside from 1-2 combinations by Delgado. And again, Artiga trying to land some lefts here or there, and Delgado catches her with one. Delgado goes for more combinations, and Artiga does try to land bodies at the end, but it wasn't enough. We come to round 6. Delgado winds up big shots from Artiga, putting her off balance, and the entirety of the 6th round was crazy enough to talk about. It was ridiculous. But then you come into the 7th round where the score is 5-1. And there's a moment in the 7th round where the announcer points out that both ladies have landed 79 punches, which was told before the first minute of the 7th round was over, which makes you wonder, were there some rounds that I should have gave to Artiga or something? Or was Natalie doing... Because the body punches were more I was looking forward to more than ever in the fight. So, again, depending on who you ask, maybe Artiga was winning more rounds. But, yeah, this 7th round was Artiga. She had moments with clinches, and even though pairs for Artiga backs El Dago up with combinations at one point and pairs with right hands, and Delgado does answer body shots and such, and upstairs, and more strong punches from both women. And surprisingly, even though Delgado had chances, but Artiga managed to win the 7th round easily. Round 8, Delgado lands the left and comes forward with more rights and uppercut bodies from Delgado, even though she misses, following up with hooks. Like the 8th round seemed more disastrous than ever, where 40 seconds left of the fight, she comes in and throws a heavy left, but Artiga doesn't feel the effect at all, and then goes for a clinch, and surprisingly, referee Sparkle Lee manages to keep things together, and before you know it, Delgado pushes her back and starts throwing on whining punches and multitude shoves and clinches, which is crazy enough. It was dangerous. Like, Delgado went in there like never before, and I thought I just saw a fly. Jeez. So at this moment, Delgado is winning the fight 6-2. We come into the 9th round, and Artiga is firing off shots early in the round. Delgado does land inside hooks that misses. Artiga does come into the 9th round, finally putting on a show. It seems like she was connecting with stuff here. The first minute, she's doing good. I'm gonna give her the 3rd round. I'm gonna give her a 3rd round for the 9th round just for the heck of it. And then all of a sudden, with 30 seconds left of the fight, both women throw rights. Delgado lands harder and pushes out Artiga to the ropes. And that's when I thought, oh boy, there goes another round gone for Artiga, which was scary enough because that huge firing was crazy enough. But Artiga does manage to get stuff done barely in the 9th round to get herself a 3rd round win. We come into the 10th and final round where Artiga fires off combinations to the body, which I assumed. Delgado lands on bodies of her own, and both women do miss right hooks at each other at once, and separated clinches and other such. Delgado is trying to horn out some overhand rights and combinations from both, and managed to put out more clinches to win some rounds, land punches and clinches. Couple lefts from Artiga, swings away until the final bell is over, and at this moment, they come to the final seconds, both throwing out punches at each other like never before, and the bell rings. I did give Artiga the last round for the heck of it, so 96-94. Artiga goes to the corner to jump on the rope to celebrate, while Delgado's team decides to pick her up for celebration. All three judges had it 97-93, favoring Natalie the win, which I kind of agree there. That's a better scorecard than mine. I just became too generous for Yasmin's 96-94, so I'm still shocked. Man, 2 upset victories in the main event? I'm not saying this is a horrible show, but when you're talking about women that can't score knockouts, but men do on this show, that's an embarrassment. But yeah, this is shocking. Like, even though the fights might not be that entertaining, other than coming into the championship rounds when Artiga was doing a little bit better, but surprisingly, Natalie Delgado took herself a huge winding career. And even though she might not be a good fighter, again, being ranked number 6 in the super flyweight would be decent. All I can say is Mizuki Hiruda's victory is shocking. Irma Garcia's win 2 months ago by that 4th round knockout in the UK was damn crazy enough. When she defeated Emma Dolan was crazy. And now this fight, Mizuki Hiruda takes off Mae Sullivan in that awesome 10 out of 10 fight. And now Natalie defeats Artiga. And not only that, we have Adelaida Maria Ruiz taking on 4-0 Ginny Fuggs next month in July. And Fuggs is coming back from her hand injury of bleeding after, even though she did defeat Adelaida. So Adelaida is looking forward to take on Ginny after 2 years out of the ring after that bloody fight for the WBC interim title. But luckily, Adelaida got that opportunity last year in November and won. So this will be a great title defense. And if that fight goes on goodly, imagine what would have happened. Like, Mizuki Hiruda might have this chance. Her 7 title defenses, give her an 8th title defense, have her take on Irma Garcia, and we'll see if she can handle Garcia's power. Or take on Natalie Delgado if she can handle Delgado having Artiga a crazy performance. Imagine what will happen if Adelaida does not defeat Ginny in a rematch. What is going to happen? This is what super flyweight boxing is happening in women's boxing. And Mizuki Hiruda is not fighting any of these fighters. So we have to have some people to take these fights. And not only that, Gabriela Fundora is vacating her flyweight titles to come to super flyweight to take on Mizuki Hiruda. Have Gabriela fight one of these other females before taking on Mizuki Hiruda. Fight for unified champions. It's crazy. So I'm going to skip this Tiara Brown versus Hannah Rapp fight. It wasn't a fight. It was nothing. It was a waste of time. This is nothing good. It's not. Tiara Brown versus Hannah Noel Rapp. All I did was just gave away nothing. There was nothing entertaining. I gave all 100 rounds to Tiara. That's it. 190. 2 judges had it 99-91, 197-93. Again, what's the entertaining part about this fight? The thing is this. So Tiara in white trunks, black bra, red bra, out tan out, grayish trunks for Hannah. The entire fight goes as this. Like, Hannah does try to start off some flashing left hands here or there, and Brown setting off 1-2 punches, body punches and such. And we get clinches in the fight, which is about it. By round 2, nothing much could be said about what's going on. There was a moment in round 3 where, coming into the final seconds of round 3, Hannah tried to throw a power right punch, but it was so sloppy. It just seemed unprofessional, and then sets up left bodies, and they're just clinching for Tiara just to manage to block punches. I will say, though, every time Hannah does try to throw some punches, Tiara does try to cover up her body as best she could. So at least Tiara is doing something to keep the fight into herself as winning, even when Hannah is throwing punches. So she's doing a good job for what she's doing. Again, coming into round 4, we're getting combinations landed from Hannah to the stomach, but uppercuts. And even though there were flurries in the 4th round for Hannah, and to be honest, there were some solid moments in the 4th round, which was close. So I guess I'll give the 4th round to Hannah, which was her better round. Again. So the 5th round, we get some strong doozy hands. And I don't even know what the heck I'm typing in on my notes here because my notes are just ridiculously gibberish. Like, for instance, left hand, perfect jab, Brown gets it. Left hook, oh wait, it's a cross. I keep forgetting it wasn't a body shot connected. It was an uppercut. We get a 1-2 punch by Hannah. Man, I can't even write my notes properly. I will say, though, in the 5th round, there were moments where both girls were finally throwing on decent punches. And I will say, though, this fight was bloody. I can't tell blood from Tiara, no offense, but coming into the midway after the first half of the fight, there were some heavy punches going on from both girls. Coming in the round 6 with perfect left hand, right hand works, jabs, but again, some clinches here or then. But again, combinations were on point for Tiara in the fight. There was a moment in round 7 when they were backing inside and there was some firm control in the action for Brown, and she was on the roll for the entirety of it. She was throwing in solid combinations, and even though Hannah was landing body punches and such, but I can't really write anything down to say this was good. Like, even in the final seconds of the 7th round, where it seemed like Hannah was doing a good job, the thing is, you're seeing both of these girls turning their bodies, they're rubbing their heads against each other, and it's almost like they're going to bleed themselves out by headbutting each other. It's not good. Coming into round 8, Hannah's face is getting redder by the minute, and you can already tell by blood. And again, punches and body combination punches by Tiara. Perfect uppercut at one point. Both of them do exchange closely to each other, but again, more multitude of punches. Coming into the final seconds of the 9th round, Hannah's face and eye are on bloody point, but both of them are still throwing heavy-duty punches to try to knock each other out. And so it wasn't a bad fight. We come to the 10th and final round where both try to land something that should be out of an action movie. Like, the first minute comes in easily, and they manage to hold themselves together. Hannah's in the fight. She's staying in the fight as best she could, throwing in hooks here or there. She does miss some punches where she does, and Brown goes into the middle of it. But then with 1 minute left into the last round, the two get separated by the two get separated in the ring by Alicia Collins, where they get separated during the first minute of the last round, where referee Alicia takes Hannah to a neutral corner to check up on her face, and appears to be bleeding on from cuts due to headbutts and such. But they let the fight continue for the last minute, and more position for trading in punches in the end of the fight. They finished the fight with nothing to be dealt with, and that's all they wrote. They finished the fight on at the end, and that's it. So, again, at least the right person won. So, again, I don't think Tiara is that much of a fighter, but again, she does have herself doing a good job blocking punches, but does she deserve to be a fighter of the top contender? She's 38 years old, so she might not have a chance. For 124 picks in Topology, 94% people said Tiara was going to win, 92.9% said decision, and 7.1% knockout. 6% fans believe Hannah was going to win, 71.4% were decision, and 28.6% by knockout. Interesting voting there. All right, so we come to the main event match: Osashe Jones versus Elia Carranza, and another underdog story here. So 4% people out of 125 picks believe that Elia was going to win by decision only. 96% fans believe win for Tiara. 0.9 were by knockout, and 99.1% by decision. That did not go as planned. So this fight, I'm done for. There's nothing much you can say about this fight. So Jones is wearing white bra, pink trunks, all black, and some yellow thunder stripes for Elia to go for the IBF and IBO super welterweight title fight. This is just going big. There's not a lot of competition here. But again, there was time that I would have ever thought that maybe something could go awry here, but that's not what we saw. So the fight goes on from the first, where a couple hooks from Carranza to start off the fight, and she starts off easily, and Jones does make her way forward from working jabs and such, hooks and circling around outside. And Jones does circle around as much as they could. So that's mostly it. Jones does work on body shots and lefts to herself, and they do come around easily. There was a strong right in that first round by Carranza, and both do land on strong shots at the end of the round. It was a good round for Carranza. Comes into the second round. Jones does go back working on left, and Carranza fires off with her own left at one point and another before. But then we get combinations coming into Jones, and again, body shots and such, straight jabs, crosses, hooks, you name it, they're there. And Jones does get a better job coming in forward. Well, coming into the final seconds of the round, Carranza did come forward at one point at the end of that round. The third round isn't much to talk about. We do get lands by both, straight rights, and Jones does get some answers in from lefts to the body, and a good right hand from herself, and a left, right by, and then more straights from both. So a third round win for Jones there. There were moments, but nothing much. And then we come to the fourth round, where Jones comes in with a right, Carranza comes in with a left, combination from Jones. She does misses some good shots here or there. And Carranza does start pressuring Jones into a corner in that round, and comes in, fires back with combinations to tie them up in a clinch. It was a good fourth round for Carranza. And then in round 5, both women work on jabs to target each other to the body and target into upstairs and downstairs. They exchange on some close exchanges from left and rights to Jones, and aiming body shots from Carranza. So that's what we're seeing in the fight. Some are working this and the others working that. But it was a good round for Jones as well. Third round, fifth round, scores 3-2. Not bad. So we come to round 6. Both trade on jabs. Carranza does miss a right hand. Jones just tried to go inside to land a left, and then she flashes a right to Carranza, where she goes for a body punch, exchanging some here or there for combinations. Close round for Jones. And then round 7, Jones comes forward, and Carranza does tie her up again with other clinches. And then she does go for body punches and does try to get some left hooks here or there, and then she goes in for a left hook and clinches Jones again. Not really entertaining to see that, but does get some combinations here or there by the end of the 7th round. Good round for her. Carranza gets that round. Round 8. 2 girls are flashing in more jabs, and again, there were times that they were more than throwing everything they had at each other. Like, it seems like Jones was winning the fight better than Carranza, but it seems like Carranza was working a lot better than she did during their last fight. And don't get me wrong, the first fight was close, and they had something here. They were trading in, but again, there were clinches to be involved. But all in all, as a sloppy fight, I can't say it was a boring fight. They were doing a good job keeping the fight as best they could, even though if they know that men and fans were not going to be interested in women's boxing, they're doing an okay job. Jones does try to come in as best she could to win this round and comes into round 9 where Carranza comes in, goes from rights here or there, and does throw in combinations and puts stuff together. She puts Jones into the corner and trying to land out combinations from rights and straight to the bodies. And the 9th round was pretty damn good for Carranza. And then we come into the 10th and final round where both tie up in the clinch. Carranza throws on a good right before the tie-up. After they clinch out, Jones goes for another right, trading in from corner, and Carranza's just throwing in everything they got. Jones is still throwing in combinations and sometimes continuing to go for each other because they were both landing and throwing punches at each other from the final moments of the round. They laid down to the final round of the fight and the bell rings, and mostly I believe Jones won the fight. She got the final round, I think, and the score was 96-94. 2 judges had 96-94, both of them for each other for a 1-1. Unfortunately, the third and final judge, who goes by the name of Tina Griffith, scores about 95-95. The match is a draw. What the frig? I really can't say much about that other than what a complete, utter disaster. Like, it's kind of crazy that you're looking at the best women in boxing taking on these other fighters you believe they might win, and then these ladies take it away from them. Yeah, you can tell that this was an unbelievable show. Like, I never expected these women to go out there and have the challengers perform the best they could and win, or even score a draw. 3 out of the 4 fights were robbery fights. Like, that's the craziest thing, man. Like, I don't know what to say about that. Like, take this for what you will. Like, even though betwixt a couple of us people here, this is still a surprising performance for anyone to watch this. At the end of the day, it was pretty good for what it was. Even if females weren't becoming power punches like the men in this show, but it's not terrible for what it is, but it might not be the best show, but it has its moments. We gotta accept that. So I'll give this credit for what credit's due. It had its moments, but it's not my favorite. So now we're coming to the end. So what are we going to talk about next time? Where are we going to wait for Jake Paul to get back to a new promotion? Well, Jake Paul is already trying to go into April the 8th as we're going back to the Royal Casino in Orlando, Florida again, as they're going back to the same venue on April the 8th. And what we're seeing here is an interesting show. Now, the fight card is only resembling Chineka Johnson versus Dina Thorslund for the undisputed bantamweight championships, which is something I would say that if Chineka Johnson does win the fight, that could be an interesting thing on paper to see. Dina, it was fun to see Chineka Johnson become undisputed while it lasted. So, but again, Dina Thorslund deserves her opportunity for this undisputed, and if she wins, it is what it is. So, I don't think it matters who wins here. It was a good performance for either way. But all in all, it's not that going to be hard to understand what's going to happen on April the 29th in the UK in the BP Post Live Arena in Birmingham, West Midlands, where Jake Paul will put out his 6th promotion with Chantel Cameron taking on Michaela Mayer, We have Caroline Dubois taking on Amelia Moore, who's a 4-0 fighter who is actually born in Connecticut, living in Colorado Springs. So we have another New England boxer, formerly born in New England, that might put out an upset victory against this Caroline Dubois fighter. So, yeah, we might see another New England champion in New England. This might be good. This might be great. And I wish Amelia Moore best of luck. And you know what? We're going to find out about that some other time, if I ever live to see it. But you know what? I'll just say take it for what it is. And with all the minimum weight boxing out there and with everyone else, and hope Oscar Collazo defeats his other... he should be taking on Pedro Tenderin. He should be. But we'll talk about that some other time. I've talked about it too much times already. But anyway, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.